What's going on? It's your boy Sermon at Sermon's Domain on Twitter. For more than 2 years, Royce the 5'9" has been building up to this latest album, Book of Ryan. It's said to be his most personal body of work. Royce was doing interviews and talking about how much this album took out of him personally and financially. He told DJ Booth in an interview that this album was very mentally exhausting. So even before the album came out, and before these interviews, I knew we were in for a good album. But the more that I read interviews and watched interviews with Royce, the more that I realized that this is going to be an extraordinary album. Royce, as an artist, has always put in all the time and all the attention. So hearing how much extra he put into Book of Ryan showed me that this is a man who wants to build upon an already amazing legacy. Book of Ryan is hands down the most personal album that we'll ever get from Royce. So this is a 21 song album. On one hand, it feels necessary. I think when Royce wanted to really put this album together, he needed to get all of these thoughts out. I don't think that there's per se any filler records, any bad records. There are some that I like less than others, but overall this is a very quality album from start to finish. I think it tells Royce's story really well. It's able to put you in his shoes and have him reflect upon, his dad's abuse to his mother, drug addiction, just his life in general. That's what you get with Book of Ryan. And so on the other hand, it feels like this album is very overwhelming. When you listen to it, it's almost like you can't listen to it from start to finish without feeling overwhelmed. The question that I asked myself as I started to make some notes is, where do you even start to talk about an album of this magnitude? There's so many different starting points, and I think you just got to jump in. One of my favorite records on here is titled Cocaine. It's a story from Royce's perspective about his father doing cocaine and him, discovering that at an early age. Now, I like this because it's an honest story, but not only that, it takes a different turn than other stories of its, same subject matter. There is a happy ending. Before Royce goes in on the last verse, which is the 5th verse, there's a lot of verses on here. They're very short and to the point. He talks a little bit about how his dad eventually gave up drugs. He hasn't touched anything in 20 years. How he chose Royce and his family over drugs. And that right there is a really beautiful ending. But even though that this ending sounds beautiful, it ain't over from there. Royce's final line in this record, Cocaine, is, "I'm proud to say that I'm an addict who inherits your pain." And for somebody who's followed Royce for all these years, you know how important that line is. Because Royce himself has struggled with, alcohol addiction, drug addiction in his past. And now he's finally in a place where he's been sober for, I want to say, over 5 years now, which is a great thing. And something else that really adds to the personal feeling of the album is all the different skits throughout the album. I like that Royce and his son are able to, have these conversations on a few of the skits and really reflect upon certain things. Like at one point, Royce's son asked Royce about his father. Does he believe that his father was a good father? And, he's able to reflect on that now, even if he didn't see it during his teenage years. He's able to look back and say, yeah, I had a good father. When everybody else's dad was gone and not in their lives, I had a good one. I can look back and say that. Being able to reflect is just an important part of life. It can often bring new perspective. There's a skit on here titled Who Are You? And Royce ponders something that really doesn't have an answer. he questions if his dad never did drugs, if that never, was introduced to him around an early age, would he have gone down that same path? And it's impossible to say, but it's a question that provokes a lot of different thoughts. The guest features on the album usually enhance the songs that they're a part of. Royce uses a lot of different singers throughout this album, like Marsha Ambrosius or Ashley Sorrell, and they always just come out really good. Like, Marsha has the voice of an angel. I don't need to say that. If you've heard her voice, you know how angelic it is. And then Ashley Sorrell, I mentioned her because she's on 2 records, and each time that she's on a record, it sounds great. Royce really knew to pick out the right singers to get some of these points across that he might not be able to do himself, hook-wise. And then there's a record called Summer on Lock. This is one of the most appetizing looking records. It's got Jadakiss, Fabulous, and Pusha T on it. My only disappointment is that Pusha T does a hook. You have one of the sharpest lyricists in hip-hop today, and all he does is a hook. I'm just disappointed by that. Like, it's not a bad hook, but I want more from Pusha T. Anytime I see Pusha's name on a guest feature, I want him to come through with a crazy 16. I also have to give props to Eminem. I haven't always said Eminem is the greatest, and he's not. I don't believe that. But he's been kind of on a run lately. He had his remix verse earlier this year, and now this Caterpillar verse was pretty good. I will say that I'm a little bit disgusted that he spent so much time setting up various poop jokes, but I can also commend him for actually trying to make it sound unique and, very creative. Unlike a lot of rappers who are just like, yeah, I'm the shit. Like those type of lazy bars. No, Eminem tried to go the extra mile, even if I'm not a fan of poop jokes in music. With an album so full of content, so rich in everything, it's hard to really capture all of it in one review. I think you can easily talk about this album for 30, 40 minutes. And this is an album that we're going to be listening to for months, hopefully years to come, and still be dissecting it, still be grasping everything that comes with it. Book of Ryan is the autobiography that Royce needed to write and put out. I don't need an autobiography in book form from Royce because we got it with Book of Ryan. At the end of the day, I don't think anybody can be disappointed in this album. I don't know anybody that listens to Royce's solo albums and walks away disappointed. Probably like weirdos who don't like anything that Royce is offering. But when it comes down to it, Royce gave us some of the finest storytelling in this generation of hip-hop and possibly ever. He's always been that good. He's provided a lot of stellar lyricism, stuff that we'll be looking at and deciphering for a while. And the beats themselves are fitting for Royce the 5'9" sound. So overall, I was very impressed with Book of Ryan. It might be a little long, it might be a lot to take in, but this is an album that any fan of hip-hop, of rap, they need to listen to this one. So those are my thoughts on Royce the 5'9's Book of Ryan. After you listen to this album, let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. And then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video. Follow me on Twitter at @SermonsDomain. Check out some of my other videos, more reviews, interviews, discussions, various content. And as always, thank you for watching. And until next time, peace.